Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children, all ages. My name is DB333 and welcome back to Heartswiring for the New Order, Ordem y Progresso, as proceeded. Now, in the last video, we passed the Lot Act, I should say, and that went ahead and secured Brazilian democracy, more or less. We did it, guys. We saved Brazilian democracy. Now, I reload with save. We'll do this focus real quick before I explain, actually. President Enrique Taxiera Lot has succeeded. He has forced the armed forces out of politics and has strengthened democracy in the Republic of Brazil. As Lot prepares for a transition to the new administration, he takes pride in the fact that Brazil's democratic process is stronger and healthier than ever. You know, Mr. Lot, I don't know if I ever said this, but he reminds me a lot of Dwight Eisenhower, who was one of our presidents back in the 50s, right after Truman, right before JFK. Military man, served in the Second World War like I believe Mr. Lot did, in real life as well as in TNO. Warned a lot about military overreaches in the government, although America and Brazil obviously had different issues altogether. But, there's a lot of similarities. I don't know if that's, because they were really similar in real life, or if that's just a little bit of a liberty they took with writing his path. I don't know. If I got any Brazilians who would be able to tell me a bit more, I'd be more than willing to listen. So we got the failsafe figured out. And so, some of you might have remembered, I wasn't doing so hot in the last election. I was struggling with figuring out how to do all this, and it was kind of neck and neck, but I was at the bottom of that totem pole. But it sure as hell isn't like that now. I figured it out. It's momentum. Momentum is what you really got to worry about. Anything else is just kind of bullshit. In fact, it's almost so much bullshit that I dare say that this doesn't strike me as particularly realistic, perhaps, is the word. Because I doubt a party would seriously have 0% support. At least a major party like what I believe the UDN is supposed to be. Yeah, we got more or less the same idea going with all these areas. Keep sponsoring industry over there. Got some seats available to campaign for. Indonesian war. Go and slander these guys. There we go. And what from here? Momentum. Go ahead and invest in campaigning over here, try to take the state back. Same idea with Northeast eventually. Amazonia! I don't think we have much going on over there, but I'm not too worried about Amazonia right now, to be honest. You know, I dare say I think we might be fine without the Amazon votes. Go ahead and do expanded. So we're doing very well in general. I'll say we just fucking go a little crazy. Let's invest in the Amazon. Why not? It's not like it's going to cost us too much. We got so much of the vote, I think we're fine. Been a challenging 4 years, Enrique Lot thought. There'd been a lot for him to do. He had to deal with Nazis, invading Brazilian waters, economic instability, war in South Africa, a madman of a vice president, screaming opposition politicians, the scourge of corruption, maleficence, and above all the threat of military intervention against him. And he'd gotten rid of that threat for himself and all successors. An act that removed once and for all the threat of untowered military intervention of the Brazilian democratic order. It depoliticized the armed forces and taught the soldiers, airmen, and sailors to understand once and for all that they were merely citizens in uniform, nothing more, nothing less. God be praised it had come through. He had outmaneuvered the military and political opposition, and now he was left with a feeling of satisfaction. He had done enough. He could leave now. Well, it was no matter. He would take a brief vacation somewhere, probably not Guanabara, though, and have the rest from his labors. Then he would go back to active service in the army and do everything in his power to influence the military towards correct policy as a member of its constitutionalist faction. The president becomes the marshal. I like it. I do like that. Oh, we got some Senate stuff to do. I think we're fine there. Anything we can do over here? Not too worried over here as long as one of our coalition members wins. This guy's close, so we'll slander him. There we go. Got him out. Might have to do something over in Para. Oh, can we do something else already? Okay. Slander? I'll always slander Milton again. Motherfucker's running for 2 different parties. Unless there are 2 Milton Trindades from the Para state of Brazil. Para district, Para state. I think they're states. What do we want to do? You know, now just might be the point targeting supporters. That did fucking nothing. Jesus. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, just rallies are fucking pointless. Never mind. They really are just crap. Oh, we'll probably... Ooh, the votes are tallied. Let us see. It doesn't matter too much because we've won. Ooh, we got a very nice majority going for us. Coalition mates did okay. The PRP are out. The Totalists, not the Totalists. The Kaiser Integralist. The Integralists are gone. Let me send it at least. It was expected. The polls showed it. The media talked about it. Opponents complained and tried every single trick left in the book, and the political scene braced for impact as the obvious turn from expectation to a truth. Juscelenko Kubitschek then saw the large cinema projector adapted to transmit television gave the news. For a considerable margin, JK had beaten his opponents and turned again into the president of Brazil, the first man to do so in history. The Urca Casino exploded in cheers as confetti began to fall, and the casino began to play a special jazzy remix of Pexe Vivo, Kubitschek's favorite song. It was done. The PTPPS coalition had come out on top again, cementing even more its position as Brazil's leading political force. JK was lifted up by the eclectic crowd of his supporters, from industrialists to oligarchs, from military men to teachers and commoners, invited to take part of the ceremony to cement his victory. They carried him all the way to the podium, where he was dropped and stumbled to weigh the microphone with his cigarette crumpled by movement. Vargas was among the guests of honor, being constantly praised by his disciple, taking part of cheering at every line of his speech. "We did it," whispered Django, who was sitting next to Vargas' right. "I wonder how Lacerda is right now." Biting his hand off, as they would say in my time. But we can't let our guard down. He might try something. He always does. And he always fails, finished Shango, who returned his attention to cheering as Kupacek went into his plans for the future. Vargas himself thought about what that meant. He didn't know if he would be there for the next presidential inauguration, but that one marked a major victory. His system continued, having adapted to the ideological needs of times. Getulio Dornelis Vargas, once called President Father of the Poor, had succeeded in making a lasting legacy, and may last for all eternity. As the Lot presidency came to an end, the former president, Marshal Enrique Texerilot of the PSD, and his former second-in-command, Janio Quadros of the PTN, came together once again for a cordial meeting of the sort that had become more and more common as the years wore on. They sat down and broke a few drinks. But not too many, as Lot very much liked to remain sober. They talked about things that had gone well and things that had not gone so well. There were disagreements here and there, but not of the kind that punctuated their interactions before 1962. In fact, the two of them found that, despite their differing backgrounds and political ideologies, they agreed on no small number of things. Lot acknowledged that, all things considered, it had been a good decision to defer to Quadros in the places where he had deferred to him. Quadros also freely acknowledged that, all things considered, Lot had done a fairly good job. The day wore on, and discussions changed to topics less directly involving them. Quadros and Lot were also concerned about the recent rumors of hardline communist guerrillas in the north, but Lot convinced Quadros not to worry about it too much unless it became a real issue. After a while spent just engaging in small talk, asking after each other's families and whatnot, and the exchanging of jokes back and forth, the two realized with a start that the sky was red and the sun was low in the sky. So the former president and his second-in-command shook hands and parted ways in some haste, but not before hammering out ways to keep in touch. And thus Lot and Quadros parted, as friends. Well, that's just nice. They're walking off into the sunset. That's really nice. God fucking damn it all! Lacerda threw his phone on the wall, getting up and kicking the chair with gusto, as if it represented the idiotic masses that couldn't see what he had done for Brazil. What he could have done for the country if they would have given him a chance. Months wouldn't be enough, wouldn't ever be enough to make sure Brazil, in all its pristine, shining glory, could stand as a leader South America was always meant to be. All they needed to do was vote for the right candidate. And they didn't. For a fleeting moment, thoughts of trying that went through his head. Democracy sometimes needed a nudge in the right direction, and he knew that better than most, after all. But that moment all but died, as he thought further and saw the benefits. If, however, gotten the Planato did a lousy job, he could do what he has always done best. This time with experience as a president to back him up. He could use the little time he got as a platform of what he could do. If the people would just bloody vote right the next time. Was Vargas's little spawn, or his accursed protege? Maybe he would consider that, but as it stands, it wouldn't be too little to gain over the massive risk. Democracy in Brazil wasn't going anywhere anymore, and he would have his chance. And he waited many years. He can wait for 4 more. Have your seat. Keep it warmed up for me next time. Adamar sat deflated in his office. He had thought third time would be the charm, but the presidency had evaded his grasp once again. What age he would be in the 1970s, late 60s? He would be 74 by the end of that term if he won the elections. No, Adamar thought, there would be no 4th run, no 4th blitz across Europe, no more shaking hands and kissing babies. The presidency, which had been so close yet so far away, had evaded his grasp once and for all. The presidency of Adamar de Barros would be consigned to the work of fiction writers discussing what could have been. Adamar stood up to go outside and thank everyone for their hard work and contribution to the campaign, and that this was not the end. But then a small thought emerged from the back of his head, one of those thoughts that started small, but then rapidly grow and grow and grow, till it's all he can think about. What if this was not the end? Despite his age, he could still easily play an influential role in Brazilian politics. He was a political grandee, and he played a crucial role in Brazilian politics for the last decade, despite never being a senator or reaching the presidency. He would just need an heir to his ideals in the PSP, an heir that would outlast even him when he one day died. But who could it be, Adamar thought. The answer was obvious, the man he endorsed for governor of Sao Paulo, the man he had personally appointed as his replacement and won in a landslide as governor of state. Adamar paused for a moment. Him? Really? The rich boy, playboy, philanthropist son of a former president. Would this man truly be capable of continuing where Adamar left off? Well, with his guidance, he could. Adamar broke into a smirk and exited his office, quickly thinking and passing by those who had come to see him before he reached his secretary. Get Vargas Jr. on the line now. We have much to discuss. Woo! We're gonna lose the overbearing military focus. Or the thing. So that's hurting our political... Our army thing. Our developments. I think I'd rather prefer if we could even, I dare say, get a better, more stable army. We can get another thing going in some of these places. Sponsor some more industry in the south, I guess. The wind whipped through Kupachek's hair as he stood on the beach in Rio Grande do Sul. The waves crashing across the rocks roared as he looked up at the beach towards the town. He turned towards one of the engineers he'd brought along with him. This is one of the places? Yes, it's nice and close to shore. There's a town up the higher part of the beach. The soil's nice and firm. Without having too many rocks, it's perfect for the road. Kupachek smiled as he turned to the town. I'm sure they will appreciate the new jobs this construction will give them. Yes, I'm sure they will. This was not some small road to connect a beach town in Rio Grande do Sul. Is it do Sul? I don't know. This would be his infrastructure masterpiece, a planned highway to go across the entire coast of Brazil, a grand connective piece to further bring Brazil closer to the future. Kupachek had brought some of the engineers that worked on the Trans-Amazonian Highway to help him on this project. They were currently all over the coast, evaluating the areas for the highway to go through, from Recife to Rio Grande do Sul. The highway that would connect the country. It was genius. Kupachek began to think of the possibilities. This would be a massive boon to the Brazilian economy, and would only further drive up the automotive industry. It would be a major strain on the government, but Kupachek had put his best men to the task. And the benefits greatly outweighed the risks. You could already see the long line of cars going down the roads, bustling towns, forming along road stops. As he turned to the ocean and looked out toward vast waves, Kupachek felt ready for anything. The transatlantic highway was going to be built, for the good of all. Speaking of highways... Nice. I wonder if we hang around and do anything if this will be finished. Probably need to get working on some industry stuff over in Central West. Django! Kupachek walked up to the door of the house. It's a great pleasure to see you again. Kupachek and Goulart planned to meet his house. As he walked up to where Goulart was standing in the arch of the doorway, he noticed something off about him. He looked ragged, just like he just rolled out of bed. And there was a distant sadness in the corner of his eyes, some hollow failure. Goulart took a second before answering Kupachek. It is a great pleasure to see you as well. A small smile came across his face as he reached his hand to shake hands. He turned to face the interior of his home. Please, come in. They walked into the interior of Goulart's home. The home was nice looking enough, but slightly messy. They turned and walked into the main sitting room. Never thought I would have a VP that wasn't you, Zhao. You were one of the best people I ever worked with. The presidency won't be the same without you. Goulart looked up at Kupachek with some joy in his eyes. Well, and Unloat won't let you down. She's had an exemplary career in the BTB-JK, and I've spoken to her myself. She seems very bright. I hope she is. From what I've seen and heard of her, she seems very, opinionated. Kubitschek leaned closer to Lord. Even though you, unfortunately, cannot be my vice president, I still need your help. My help? What could I do you for? Jao, you're still the leader of House of Deputies, are you not? Plus the leader of PTB. I need you to help me push through legislation that will help Brazil, improve quality of life for all. You need to be my right-hand man in the House, or it could all fall apart. I need you. Gallard looked surprised for a second, as if he had forgotten the tremendous power he holds over Brazilian politics. Of course, I will help you pursue your policies. We both want to help the people to continue the legacy of Vargas. You have my full support. Kubitschek replied, Excellent, my friend. I'm very happy to hear that. Both men stood up and shook each other's hands. Let's hope this produces some good for Brazil. An alliance for a better Brazil. Look, constitutionalists are dominant. Sorbona have some influence, but well, these guys are out, aren't they? It was a pleasant day in Brasilia, and Henrique Teixeira Lot was pleased I was able to use his stay to meet with someone who was neither an opponent of his, nor someone who just messed up, nor indeed anyone. Out to see what they could get from him. Quite the contrary. It was his beloved daughter Edna, who had just been elected to high office in the aftermath of his election. How are things going then, Edna? Oh, pretty good, Dad. I've been getting used to the way things work. Django's been showing me the ropes, and I've been in touch with Tancredo here and there. Leno's pretty helpful, too, even if he's a bit radical for my taste. I'll only disagree with him once in a while, and there will even be conflicts, but whatever you do, you need to stay strong and stick to your principles. I understand, Dad. Good, good. One more thing. If there's anything I can do to help me, just ask. I will see to it. Edna smiled and embraced her father. Thank you, Dad. Aw. This is nice music to be, to play things out. It's like a movie. It's like the end credits scene. Scheduling an inspection. Let's see how the nepotism drops. Slightly. Barely even. Well, it's a fun game. My hat goes off to the mods, or at least it would if I was wearing a hat. The devs who made this demo, you guys did a great job. I'm very impressed. As soon as the rest of the mod comes out, if you guys... Ooh. Odelia was in front of a podium. On his front were the 500 cadets of the Academia Militar das Aguas Negras. He still had met on the perfect white uniforms, awaiting for him to say. He still had memories from 40 years ago when he was a young marshal, watching young Marshal Settembrino de Cavallo retire. He didn't expect time to fly so much. I fought for my country through all the battlefields possible. As a cadet against the old Republic, as an officer against the Nazis in Britain, as a Brazilian against the corrupt politicians that pollute our country, as a father against the socialists who want to corrupt our youth with their insane doctrine. And the lesson I learned and still carry with myself is that our country will always be persecuted by enemies from the outside and the inside. And thus my retirement might be the end of my fight, but is the beginning of yours. Massive applause darted through the room. Odelio could see the pride and respect on the eyes of everyone in the room. True Brazilians, respectful Brazilians just like him. People who would pave the way for the country in the future and continue his mission. The good fight for their home, the home of their ancestors, and the home of their children. Soon he wouldn't be on Earth anymore, but his soul would continue alive through every single man on that run. And after finishing his speech, Odelio wept, for his mission was over. Bye, old friend. I think it was Zhao who replaces him, so we'll put him in. Get good old Zhao in the running. Do another development edict. Anything else we even can do? I guess encourage migration in the northeast. There's nothing left to do but wait. The planning was done, the preparation was complete, and the crowds had come to capital to celebrate, to finally amalgamate into a moment of triumph. Juscelinko Kubitschek's moment of triumph. Tancredo Neves watches Kubitschek started to the running car. I want to wish you good luck on your inauguration. Kubitschek had a large smile come across his face. Thank you very much, Tancredo, and I want to thank you for helping me with my campaign. Your help is invaluable to me. It'll be a pleasure to have you in my cabinet again. It was my joy to help you, J.K. Kubitschek opened the door of the car that was prepared to take him to his inauguration. I spent a lot last night going over my speech. I think it's a real crowd pleaser, and it goes with my policy well. Are you nervous? No, of course not. After all, this is my first inauguration. I know the run of these things. As he slid in the car, he turned back. See you soon, Tancredo. Good luck with your speech! The car door shut, obscuring Kubitschek, and the car whisked away to his inauguration. Tancredo Neves walked away to find his own car, readying himself to participate in numerous events that would come. Victory is at the cusp of Kubitschek's grasp. Enrique Teixeira Lott, outgoing president of the Brazilian Republic, was giving one last televised speech to the people of Brazil as their head of state. Nearby off-screen were the incoming president, the vice president, and Lott's wife and daughter. As he spoke, he remembered all the things he had gone through as president. I am deeply thankful to you all for allowing me to lead you through these turbulent years. The swearing-in, meeting and working with Quadros, Tancredo, Denise. We have achieved significant progress in Brazil. We have reduced financial instability and driven the Nazi menace back from our seas. Finding a way out with the Nazis. Dealing with the corruption scandal. Our administration has managed other things too. The Lott Act and Operation Toucan. The election, the last days of his term. I am announcing that I will be retiring from politics, effective immediately. As these things went through his mind and the speech reached the end, Lott found himself slightly emotional. Emotional enough, in fact, that everyone noticed it and was surprised. The marshal was never that kind of person, they'd thought. Lott regained control over his whirling thoughts and concluded his speech. I offer my humble thanks to everyone. Good night and farewell. And with that, the president became the marshal once more. What a great fucking day, said General Figueiredo, arriving on its office. I can't believe I'm going to become a general, Mathilda. Figueiredo's secretary kept typing his promotion speech, making him slam his hat in his table. Yes, sorry. Congratulations, General. So you showed them, didn't you? Yes. These motherfuckers who supported that piece of shit mummy now lost their ground. Denise won't be missed. That fucker was driving us against the big brother and towards tyranny. With him pissing his pants on an asylum, I can take over now. Mathilda continued to type his speech, cautiously to prevent another outburst of anger. Figurino was not a man to be challenged. The news of Odilio Denise's retirement for old age had been music for him, and the Sorbonne who just gotten rid of another threat to democracy and Americanism. Figueiredo could barely wait to give a smug smile in the ceremony, as that decrepit old man would leave his position and be replaced with him. Oh, but that would take a week. What a long week that was going to be. These years in America taught me a lot, Matilda. Think that, in all ways but the fact I was born on the shithole, I'm a true American, right? Matilda was finishing up the speech and didn't reply in time. Figueiredo slapped his hand on the table again. Uh-oh, they're back. All fucking two of them. So song and dance he was all too familiar with. President Kubitschek pledged himself to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the land. He pledged his service to the Union and the people of Brazil. And soon he was leaving the National Congress to the sound of the band and the cheering of thousands. As Kubitschek walked down the ramp of the National Congress, a shining jewel of a city helped create, the heavy guns of the Presidential Honor Guard fired. In the distance, the president could hear the 21-gun salute firing off in his honor. Before him, as per the rituals of inauguration, was the Presidential Honor Guard, dressed in the Napoleon-era ceremonial uniforms. Kubitschek saluted the men as a band played the national anthem, walking past a row of soldiers. The last formation of the group was starkly out of place, however. Wearing modern dress uniforms, these were veterans of the South African War. As Kubitschek walked by, he made a note, not of their immaculate uniforms or stiff salutes, but their gazes. Distant and lost, the president could see the scars of battle in their eyes. They may be standing there as national heroes, but only time would tell if their service would all be worth it. The roaring of fighter jets snapped Kubitschek out of his wandering thoughts, the Air Force flying in formation, far above the crowds. The future of Brazil. The life of Kubitschek is what he describes as a dream of Brazil, from the rise from a poor family to the presidency itself. Raised by his mother due to his father dying from tuberculosis while J.K. was 2. J.K. would persevere, gaining an education and later becoming a licensed medical doctor. In 1930, he would travel around Europe, missing the events of a revolution that occurred in 1930, cementing Vargas's rise to power. Once news of this arrived, J.K. traveled back to Brazil. And on his way, arrival asked his future wife, Sarah Kubitschek, to marry him. Kubitschek entered into politics in Minas Gerais, and advanced quickly. He became known for his professional nature and his signature infrastructure and architecture programs. But during this time, where he had a child, Marcia, in 1943, and adopted another, Maria, in 1947. He also met the architect Oscar Niemeyer, that he would cooperate closely with. As the war ended, J.K. supported Vargas to the very end, being a key ally that Vargas could rely on. With the restoration of democracy, he decided to carry on Vargas' legacy and ran for the legislature in the PSD. He became a popular figure and was the PSD's candidate for 1955 elections. He negotiated with the PTB and João Goulart to run on a joint ticket and support each other. J.K. won a decisive victory and with lots of help stopped an attempted coup. President Kubitschek focused on infrastructure programs and the construction of Brasilia, using the architect Oscar to design the city. He promised 50 years of progress and 5 into the PSD, and many Brazilians he achieved it. Now president again, Kubitschek promises another decade of progress in a few years. However, his ambition may be more than he can achieve within the few years he has, and certain business in Rio distracts him from his political spirit in Brasilia. Well, another event. A little bit more reading. Bear with me, folks. As the Brazilian elections of '65 come to an end, Juscelino Kubitschek enters Brazil's Palácio do Planalto, whose construction he oversaw as the president of Brazil for the second time in a decade. As with the last time around, he ran as a candidate of the center-left PSD-PTB coalition. Compared to his previous ascension in 1955, when he decided to rely on the support of the military to drive back a coup attempt, there's been a complete lack of chaos. Observers consider that this is a potential indicator of relative instability, unusual given the tumult that usually surrounds the Brazilian democratic process. Kubitschek, not one to rest on his laurels, is already getting to work. Rumor has it that he will be instituting more of the same massive infrastructure and construction programs that were his trademark during the first Kubitschek presidency. A known variable. We're getting closer on the highway. There we go. Taking hours of driving and then hours of marching for João Amazonas to reach his destination. Flies and insects all buzzed around him, almost constantly raining. The politicians were corrupt and there was little no infrastructure. In other words, this would be the perfect starting place for the revolution. No one asked any questions about what Amazonas was building here. This thick forest canopy meant they were protected from aircraft. He could get used to the flies. He stood back and watched a number of his comrades get to work lifting and transporting boxes, cleaning their weaponry, and ensuring tents were set up. It had taken them weeks of traveling and searching to pinpoint this very location, but when they found it, they realized it was perfect. Too long he had been in the cities, arguing pointlessly with revisionists on minor policy and dealing with schisms in the communist movement due to their blind faith in the past leaders' methods. How could those fools not see the past leaders of the movement had all failed because they were not committed enough, that they had compromised too much? Prestus, the revisionist traitor. was the biggest disappointment of them all. He'd been fooled by the social fascism of Vargas and the PTB, despite fighting against Vargas in the 35 Revolution. That accursed revolution, whose consequences saw his wife Olga be deported to Germany, caused her to face almost certain death in the slave mines. Amazonas spat on the floor. Thinking about this. Once he'd believe in protest, but there was an old saying, never meet your heroes, and Amazonas certainly regretted meeting him. Amazonas went back to thinking about the eventual aims of the camp. He planned for a revolution that started in the countryside, with the support of the peasantry, and would quickly spread to the cities. Of course, the revolution would not be built overnight. They needed more arms, more money, more personnel, more everything, really. But he and his comrades were committed. Revolutions had succeeded in the past, despite dire circumstances. In Brazil, it would succeed as well. No longer would Brazil be oppressed. No, Brazil would soon truly be free. Araguaia will be our Petrograd. Thus, the march through the 1960s continued onwards, as the order established by the former Axis powers began to collapse around it. The first half of a decade created much hope and confusion for its people. Brazil faced many trials and tribulations which threatened to change its course. Its welfare depended upon the decisions of Brazil's people and their leaders. The former Marshal, Henrique Lott, led a stable government that avoided much of the chaos that Brazilians had come to expect. Most viewed his presidency as a success. He went down in history as an effective leader, competent diplomat, and shrewd general. Under his leadership, Brazil narrowly avoided economic disaster. In addition, Lott successfully saw an end to the Lobster War, defending and securing the sovereign waters of Brazil. Henrique Lott remained on good terms with Jânio Quadros after the end of his presidency. While the two could hardly be considered political allies, they found themselves effective foils for one another in running administration. Historians would come to remember the Lott-Quadros presidency as the aversion of a potential disaster. Following Lott's departure as president, the two developed a friendship, often reconnecting to reminisce about good times. When Henrique Lott stepped down to prevent a military coup years ago, he swore he would never allow the military to curtail Brazilian democracy. With the passage of the Lott Act, he hoped to fulfill that promise. No longer could the Brazilian military meddle in the affairs of the state. No longer could guns triumph over the ballot box. Lott could only hope that this act would not be tested anytime soon. Lott had been through a lot in his time in power in Brazil. He attended to a house of cards, each one handled with the utmost care. It was in many ways a victory that had arrived at the end of a road unscathed. Lott sincerely accepted his retirement from the political sphere. For a man like Lott, however, retirement could never be permanent. He would eventually leave his quiet home in Minas Gerais and return to work of preserving Brazilian democracy. He used his military connections that he relied upon so many times before to favor the military's constitutionalists, acting as a keeper of peace between the army and state. The elections in 1965 charted Brazil's course into the uncertain future. The race was hard fought, with the Vargas of the PSD and PTB, the conservatives of UDN, and the populace of PSP, each pulling their own way. But in the end, there could only be one winner, and that winner would be granted power to shape Brazil in his own image over the next 5 years. In a manner not heard of in Brazilian history before the 1960s, the former president, Juscelino Kubitschek, retained the presidential dignity through popular vote, and sat once more in the Palacio do Planalto, whose construction he had overseen. Kubitschek promised to continue the policies of centrist PSD as practiced by Henrique Lott and the Kubitschek during the first term, being the Republic of Brazil and the prosperity of its people its greatest project. He set off a spate of industrialization, invited significant foreign investment, and oversaw massive public works. Kubitschek would become known as a builder of Brasilia and beyond. Despite their past maleficence, the military was more loyal to Brazil than ever. The government kept the army in line, not with a leash, but using a more gentle hand. Dependable constitutionalists headed key positions across Brazil's armed forces, while less reliable officers were placated with promises of pay raises and reforms. Hushed conversations in barracks across the nations discussed the ousters of foreign fascist demagogues rather than Brazilian politicians. For the first time in years, the army was not a threat. The world was a changing place, with the skies being conquered by the creation of man. Brazil had been dragged along, though its legs could never quite keep up. Factories were in Brazil, and there were a few new fancy homes, and cars were on the street, but there was an overall sense of not enough. A sense that there could be more, a well-known knowledge that countries like the United States were simply better off. Material conditions in Brazil had seen a definite improvement, but the gap from Brazil's maximum was noticeable. While it would be many years before Marshall Lot's grand trans-Amazonian project would reach its end, the people of Brazil started to see its benefits much earlier. Those scandals surrounding the endeavor graced front pages of papers across the nation. Most remained unshaken in their support. Brazilian firms could finally access the natural riches of the jungle, and insular communities grew with a reliable road link to the coasts. One lesson Brazilians had learned was that the future was hard to predict. As time wore on, rumors of a new hardline leftist movement began to circulate, inspired by the theories of guerrilla warfare and supposedly strengthened by the aid of the Revolutionary Coordination Junta and Socialist Revolutionary Che Guevara. The followers of João Amazonas, calling themselves Amazonists, established a foothold in the jungles of Brazil's north. As the revolutionary ideals spread from the rainforest towards the interior regions, whispers spread of a plan for a system of agrarian socialism backed by lead and revolutionary fervor. Of course, you can't trust rumors. 6 years had passed since the beginning of the Lott presidency. In that time, the Republic of Brazil had experienced changes of a sort unheard in its history. But the story of the Republic of Brazil was nowhere near over. Social attitudes, political allegiances, voters' whims, and the state of a Brazilian economy were all in flux. Whether or not order and progress was to be built in Brazil over the next 10 years depended entirely upon the choices of its leadership and people, and the gravely serious decisions that the nation made. One thing was very clear to all who watched. Just as the samba of the people weaved through thousands of streets each carnival, Brazil was certain to follow its own twists and turns. And thus ends the story of Brazil. For now, of course. Well, that was good. I enjoyed that. I was saying that earlier, and then a bunch of events popped up that I had to read. I liked this. I really did. My props go out to the dev team. I'm very, very impressed with what they did. This was honestly a lot of fun. Probably some of the most fun I've had from Tino in a bit. So I give you guys a lot of props. All the dev teams who hopped in. Special shout out to mi amigo Anthony, el developer de Peru. If Peru has content out, I'll play it first. Thanks for just as a little thank you for all that, for reaching out. Viva la Peru. Anyway. But yeah, I'm very impressed by all the work that the devs did. Mechanics were fun. Some of the, the events were a little shoddy to read. Some typos, usual stuff, but that's minor stuff, all things considered. I'm very impressed. I had a lot of fun playing in South America, and that's almost never the case. So, buen trabajo. Yeah. That's really it for now. I don't know what's necessarily the plan for the future. I'll be keeping an eye on the Cold Silver Springs Discord. When their next little... Maybe they'll do another demo. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Whatever they end up doing, however. I'm interested to see. And I'll probably do some content on it in the future. So, that's it for now, guys. Berg says, what row? Carlos de Mello. That might just be a randomly generated name, I don't know. But hey, this was fun. I'm, like I said, more than when it comes mod, when it comes full release in the future, I'll do Peru, because the main dev said, commented in my video. I'm not very picky when it comes to that sort of stuff. Peru, maybe Argentina, Chile. I don't know yet. We'll wait and see what comes out content-wise. But I'm impressed. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I know I enjoyed playing it. It's a lot of fun stuff going on. I give the devs a lot of props. I think I said it already a couple times. I'm just gushing a little bit because I had a lot of fun with this. Next major series that isn't going to be Russia is coming with Toolbox Theory. I did a poll on the YouTube. I believe we agreed on the Iberian Union. So, going from one side of the... We're going from colonized to colonizers. A little appropriate. We'll figure that out in time, of course. We'll get to it soon. But until then, thank you guys for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, I have uploads going up every weekday as well as occasionally Saturdays. Leave in the comment section, hit the sub button, even hit the notification bell if you want to really keep up to date with all this. If you have any comments, feedback, concern, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get and appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to send a few bucks my way, I have a Patreon. If you want to chat, play games, I have a Discord. If you want to see me do so stuff live, Twitch, I'll put the description box below. That's really it for now, my friends. Thank you as always for watching. My name has been DB333. And thank you as always for watching. Viva Peru and Viva Brasil. Adios.